Okay, so this video is going to begin the tutorial sessions for the dual Passover night timeline. So if you've not been able to understand the timeline over, the years that I've been doing it, then this is a great video to start with because we're going to be going through how this timeline developed from the very beginning, which was from the blood moon Tetrad that happened in 2014 and 15. Now, it wasn't until March 2015 that I got the understanding what these blood moons meant. And it was because I was contemplating the fact that they were exactly 6 months apart, that being 6 lunar months apart. Now, I know that there are scholars and teachers out there who will say that these blood moons fell on the Jewish feast dates of Passover and Tabernacles. But actually, if you go and look at Torah calendar, the second blood moon didn't actually fall on the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, the blood moon happened in October 2 days before the Feast of Tabernacles even began. Okay, so when I saw that, I could see that there was some inconsistencies with what was being said by the so-called end time, teachers and preachers out there. So I was thinking to myself, what could these four blood moons mean then? Knowing that they were happening in the first and seventh months of the Hebrew time frame, they were obviously I could see that they were 6 months apart, 6 lunar months apart. And so I asked the Lord, I said, or I guess I was reasoning within myself, and that's how the Lord can give us revelation is when we meditate and contemplate on these things. I was thinking, what are four equal sets of time? And that's when the revelation came. They are four signs for the 4 night watches of Passover night on the night of his betrayal. And these 4 night watches, obviously, because a night lasts 12 hours, goes from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., these 4 night watches begin from 6 p.m. as the first night watch, and then 9 p.m. initiates the second night watch, then midnight initiates the third night watch, and then 3 a.m. initiates the fourth night watch into the morning, which is at 6 a.m., which is March 2016. So as you can see, there are also two total solar eclipses in this time frame as well, because knowing that there are 6 months for each blood moon, I'm able to include the second total solar eclipse, because when you look at pictures, of the blood moon tetrad, you'll often only see this, just one. That's the pattern that you see, one in the middle. But because I was given the understanding that these blood moons were initiation points for a 6 month time period, I was able to include the 6 months after the fourth blood moon, which would take me up until the 23rd of March 2016, which would be 6 a.m., obviously the morning after the fourth night watch. So this was when I was able to see, back in March 2015, that this was Passover night, and therefore we were going to have our Exodus. And it was either going to happen in the night, which would be the third or the fourth night watch, or it would happen in the morning. And thus my timeline began. So, knowing that they are exactly 6 months apart, this whole entire time period would therefore last 2 lunar years. So 24 lunar months. From April 2014 to March 2016 is 24 lunar months. And these two total solar eclipses happen 2 weeks before each year ends. So I was able to see like this symmetrical pattern as well. That at the end of the first year, 2 weeks before that, was when the total solar eclipse happened. And again, at the end of the second year of this time frame, there was another total solar eclipse. So this is what we have as being Passover night on the night of his betrayal. Now, I didn't have any understanding at this point that there was any differences between the Gospels. I didn't know anything about that at this point. There was some kind of questioning in my soul because some people were asking me questions just during this time period about when Jesus was actually eating his Passover meal and stuff like that. And you read it in the Gospels, but I didn't really kind of get the understanding at that point. I actually get the understanding for that in March 2016. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next tutorial video. But first of all, I just wanted to give you an overview that these 4 blood moons mean that they are 4 signs for the 4 night watches of Passover night. A lot of biblical scholars and end time prophecy people have never been able to understand what these 4 blood moons meant. And because they've come and gone, people think that they didn't mean anything. But they do mean something. And this is what they mean. This is why Jesus says in Mark 13, verse 35, "Stay awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening, or at midnight, or when the rooster crows, or in the morning." These are the 4 night watches. These are what they're called. The evening watch is the first night watch that goes from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The midnight watch is the second night watch, which goes from 9 p.m. until midnight. When the rooster crows watch happens, that's between midnight and 3 a.m., which is the third night watch. And the morning watch is the fourth night watch, which goes from 3 a.m. until 6 a.m. So there are 12 hours of the night that are split into 4 night watches of 3 hours each, known as the evening watch, the midnight watch, the rooster crowing watch, and the morning watch. So the first night watch begins at 6 p.m. and ends at the evening, which is 9 p.m. The second night watch begins at 9 p.m. and ends at midnight, which is why it's called the midnight watch. The third night watch begins at midnight and ends when the rooster crows at 3 a.m., which is why it's called the rooster crowing watch. And then the fourth night watch begins at 3 a.m. and goes on till 6 a.m., which is when the morning comes, which is why it's called the morning watch. Okay, because you're watching up until the point of the end of that watch. Okay, so if you were in the midnight watch, you would be watching for the midnight hour. So therefore, you would be watching from 9 p.m. till midnight. And when midnight came, that would be the end of your watch period. Okay, so for those that were assigned to different watch periods of the night, if you're assigned to the midnight watch, you know that your watch would end at midnight because that's what you were watching for, the midnight hour. And when it came, your job was done. Now, I've also put these 4 night watches into this bracket kind of time frame so that you can see the chunks of the night watches. So you can see the first night watch goes from the 15th of April to the 7th of October 2014. The second night watch goes from the 8th of October 2014 to the 3rd of April 2015. The third night watch goes from the 4th of April to the 27th of September 2015, and the fourth night watch goes from the 28th of September 2015 to 22nd of March 2016. So as you can see, the blood moons initiate the night watches. Now, some people might say that, again, I can't remember if I've said this already, but I'd say it again just in case I've not said it. That if you see that time period of the 28th of September and say that your blood moon was seen on the 27th because you're in America, it's because this lunar eclipses are timed by UTC time. Okay? So why is Passover night so important, and why is it reflected upon in the night of watching? It's because in Exodus 12, verse 42, it says that it was a night of watching by the Lord to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So this same night is a night of watching kept to the Lord by all the people of Israel throughout their generations. This is why Jesus took his disciples to watch and pray with him in the Garden of Gethsemane, because it was Passover night. Okay? He was betrayed during Passover night. But I didn't have the understanding that there were differences in the Gospels at this point. That's all I had, okay, was this. So I want to leave it there today with you. I want you to be able to just look at these 4 night watches. If you've not understood night watches before, I want you to be able to understand that there are 4 night watches of Passover night, and these are the time periods that they happen in. There are the evening watch, the midnight watch, the rooster crowing watch, and the morning watch. It's a 2-year period of 4 sets of 6 months. Okay. Um, just to say, I can see on this chart I've missed out that first solar eclipse there in March, so I will include that in my next video that I'll do. And on the next video that I will do, as I say, I will show how things developed from 2016 onwards, and how in March 2016 I was able to see another 18 months added to take the timeline up until the 9th hour, which happened in September 2017. So stay tuned and follow up with the next video when I can do that. I don't know if it will be tomorrow or when it will be, but I will be doing these videos in parts so that you can understand how this timeline developed in a literal time frame for me. I will try and keep it to the revelation that I got at that time so that you can understand it as well, because revelation is given as time is progressing. So I didn't know at this point that there was any mystery in the Gospels. I didn't even know that there would be any more lunar eclipses coming. I just thought we would have our Exodus in March 2016. And when that didn't happen, there was a reason for that. And another 18 months was added on. And I called it the Gospel Time Loop. And I'll go over that in my next video. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comment box. God bless you. Have a great day.